A very good morning to all the students of class 12th political science. Students, as you know, we had finished our ninth chapter of our book Contemporary World Politics, and we had finished all the four parts of that particular chapter, globalization. And before I start the second part of your syllabus, that is your part B, which is in relation to India, that is politics in India after independence or since independence. So before I start that book, I wanted to share some important topics with you. As according to the revised syllabus, some important topics as a reference point have been given in your syllabus by CBSE also. So if you check the revised syllabus given by the CBSE, I had sent you the link also, and I have sent you the PDF also. So in that certain notes are given, so you need to study those notes properly, because in your NCERT book those particular topics are not given in detail, but they have given you certain reference notes to study, and which are very important from the point of view of your board exams. So I'm just trying to explain you those some of those important points. Okay, so first one, as you can see, I gave you in the exam also, I gave you as an assignment also, but you have not done it properly. It means you are not reading the notes which I am giving you. So again, I am taking up this topic, that is, you can see from the second unit. First unit is Cold War. From that all the units are covered, all the topics have been covered, but as a reference note, an important note which have been given by CBSE on with your revised syllabus is Arab Spring in the second unit, that is the end of the bipolarity. In your NCERT book, if you will check, this is not given in detail. Arab Spring, there is no mention, it is not mentioned properly in your book. So here is a small note which I have prepared for you here. So I will try and explain you with this. Yes, so Arab Spring. So what do we mean by Arab Spring? So if a direct question comes, what do you mean by Arab Spring, or there can be an indirect question. When you will understand the topic, you will be able to answer it. So the 21st century witnessed emergence of new development for democracies and democratization in West Asian countries. So it is very much understood, as we are reading about, we read about the Cold War. We started this book with the Second World War, and after that the Cold War. So we also see how there was a disintegration of Soviet Union, and there were various reason factors responsible for the collapse of such a big we can say superpower. So one of the reasons was there was no democracy, no right to speech, there was no role of the people in the functioning and representation in the government, and also they followed ideology which was communalism. So their people were not satisfied, that is why it led to some protests, and people were not satisfied with those functions. They wanted to follow the western trend, like they wanted to copy west as the capitalist countries. So in the same way, in the 21st century now, there has been emergence of new developments for democracies and democratization in which West Asian countries. First of all, let me show you which are the West Asian countries, so that it would be easy for you. I hope this is visible to you. So this is the world map. On the globe it is shown. This is India, you can see it. This is India. I'll try to show you from here. Yes, this is India. So this is the green part, shaded green part is West Asia. So this topic I am reading, that is Arab Spring, is totally relevant to this green shaded part, and this is the West Asia, we can say. And this is also called Middle East, this part. But if I talk about this whole area, this is called West Asia. Okay, India is in the South Asia, and this is Southeast Asia, which chapters we have already covered. So this is about West Asia. So Arab Spring. Okay, I hope you have understood the location of West Asia at least. So here, moving forward, so there was I can say emergence of democracies and democratization. People wanted democracy here, they wanted their representation in the government. Okay, like we see in the case of Soviet Union. Okay, so West Asian countries, one such event is characterized by Arab Spring. To bring democracy and be democratization in West Asian countries, there was one important event which is called Arab Spring, that began in 2009. You have to remember the date. It started this Arab Spring as an event to achieve democracy and democratization. There was an event, it started in 2009. Okay, but before this, we have to also see, located in Tunisia, the Arab Spring took its root where the struggle. So first of all, this Arab Spring, these need and demands for the democracies started in Tunisia. Tunisia is a country in North Africa, very close to West Asia. I will show you through the map. These are the countries of West Asia. If you can see, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, Iran, Iraq. These are some of the important countries of West Asia. Here is Afghanistan, here Pakistan, and India. This is very close to India. This is West Pakistan, and this is the border of Africa. Okay. So I was trying to show you the location of Tunisia. This is West Asia. This Middle East, we can say this is the part we are calling West Asia. This is also when we see it on the world map, we call it Middle East. So very close to it is Tunisia. North America is there is a country Tunisia. This Arab Spring, or the demand, we can say, for the democracy, or the dissatisfaction among the people of the country who wanted to bring democracy or democratic government to their country, started from Tunisia, and then it spread to this part of Asia, that is West Asia. So I hope you have understood this map properly. Okay, Tunisia, and this is West Asia. So now I hope the locations are clear to you. Now I will read it. So it all started in Tunisia, first of all, which is a country in North Africa. The Arab Spring took its roots where the struggle against. So first of all, this Arab Spring took its roots, started in a places where there was struggle or protests against or dissatisfaction because of corruption, unemployment, or poverty. These three were the complaints of the people, and they wanted these three to be solved, and that is why there were different events and protests and demonstration among in these countries, which led to the dissatisfaction of the people from their government, which was autocratic, we can say, in nature, that is dictatorship. It started by the public, which turned into a political movement. So this struggle and by the people which started is turned very soon, it turned to a political movement, because the people considered existing problems. They considered the problem of unemployment, poverty, corruption. It's all because of the government, which was autocratic and dictatorship. The meaning of autocratic and dictatorship you must be knowing as a student of political science. You must have read in the junior classes. This is a type of a government where all the powers are in the single hand. Everything is controlled and governed by the single person. So all have to follow all the rules and provisions which are put forward by the dictator or the king. So because of this sort of government, the problems were coming up related to corruption, unemployment, poverty, and many more. So people wanted to be more democratic. Okay, so it all started with Tunisia, and later on it moved, this movement of Arab Spring moved to West Asia. So here they have written the demand for democracy that started in Tunisia. First of all, it started this demand for democracy, where people wanted democracy and they wanted representation in the government, participation in the government activities. Okay, this started in Tunisia. This spread throughout Muslim. Now it spread to Muslim dominated Arab countries. These are the West Asian countries, where most of the countries are Muslim dominated Arab countries in West Asia. Okay, then here this personality, Hosni Mubarak, who had been in power in Egypt. He had been a power in Egypt. He has been a dictator in Egypt since 1979. Okay, but this was now 21st century, that is 2009. So since 1979 till 2009, he was a dictator and he was in power there in Egypt. He also collapsed as a result of the massive democratic protests. There were all around, there were democratic protests. People wanted democracy. In that, this strong personality, Hosni Mubarak, who was we can a dictator or the king of Egypt, he was also removed and collapsed because of this strong, massive democratic protest. In addition, in the influence, the influence of Arab Spring could be also be seen in, so the impact of these influence to gain democracy or to bring democracy in their country and making a democratic method to be governed in a country. It has influence in Yemen, Bahrain, Libya, Syria. These are all the neighboring countries next to the borders of South Africa also, and West Asia, or we can say Middle East. were similar protests by the people led to the democratic awakening throughout the region. So throughout this region, the maps I have shown you of border linked very close to South Africa and Middle East and next to Mediterranean Sea, all these places and countries, they were very much influenced by these protests for democratic way of governing. So this was called Arab Spring. I hope you have understood. I shall be giving you assignments again on this particular topic, so it would be clear for you. Now moving to the next unit, that was the next chapter, was your alternative centers of the power. But according to the revised syllabus given by the CBSE, the new proposed units were given. In that, the new proposed unit name was new centers of power. So we had already finished this chapter, but few things were left. Here is a short note given about BRICS. So I will read it quickly. I will not take much time here. BRICS means, the term BRICS refers to the Brazil, Russia, India, China. In the beginning, there were 4 countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa. Actually, this means all the 5 countries respectively. But if you talk about the history and how it was profound or established, in the beginning, there were 4 countries, Brazil, and this is Russia, India, and China. Was founded in 2006. In 2006, it was only BRICS, BRIC, okay, in Russia. So they were formed in Russia. So BRICS turned into BRICS. So when did this BRIC became BRICS? When this S was added. This S, that is South Africa, was added in the first meeting in the year 2009. That is when it was established in 2006. In Russia, there were only 4 countries, but in 2009, when they held their first meeting, South Africa also joined this group, and it was known now BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China. Later on, South Africa also joined it in 2009. The key objective of BRICS. So what were the objectives that they made this organization, why they collaborated together to work? So the key objective or the aims of these BRICS are primarily to cooperate. This was the main function, to cooperate and distribute mutual economic benefits. They have to cooperate with each other in relation to the economy, trade, imports, exports, and also distribute in such a way. They made such a market to cooperate that whatever was the profit was equally divided, or we can say were distributed among all the 5 members. So that is why it's written, distribute mutual economic benefits among its members besides non-interference. Wait, this I've written there also. So its members besides non-interference. So they were cooperating and showing their mutual respect to each other in terms of economic gain, which was to be shared equally among all the 5 members. But in terms of they also decided there shall be no interference in the internal policies of each nation. Any internal problems, any internal policies, there shall be no interference of any of the member groups or member country. Okay. The 11th conference of BRICS concluded in Brazil. So the latest and the latest meeting or the conference which these 5 countries held was the 11th one, and it was held in Brazil in 2009. Okay, and the chairperson who was the leader here, was Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. So he was the chairman of this particular conference, which was held in 2019 in Brazil, and this was 11th conference of BRICS. So I hope you have understood this particular. This is simple. So I told you this chapter is new centers of power. So we had been studying this chapter. We were studying after disintegration of USSR, as the world was controlled and ruled by only one superpower, that is US. After that, we were trying to see which are the alternative centers of power which can challenge US in the world arena globally, in terms of economy, in terms of military, in terms of culture, etc. In the same way, there have been some notes given to you regarding few countries which we think that are one of the rising superpowers in which can challenge US domination. Okay. So one is Russia. As we know, you very well know about Russia. After disintegration of Soviet Union, this was the successor of USSR. All the international policies plans which were under USSR were taken up by Russia, and this was the most dominant country when USSR did not disintegrate. Still, it was a very dominant country. So Russia had been the largest part of the former Soviet Union even before its disintegration. So this has been one of the most important and the largest country or the part of Soviet Union before its disintegration. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union in late 1980s and 19, that is disintegration of Soviet Union, that is in 1991. They have written the period. It started from 1980s slowly and gradually. It disintegrated and collapsed. Russia emerged as a strong successor of USSR. We know very well. We have studied this. And the USSR full form is there. I have already told you. Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. Here, Russia's GDP. Now they are talking why Russia is a strong competitor in front of US as one of the most superpower. So now Russia can also challenge US. Like Russia GDP is currently 11th in the world. Russia has reserves of minerals. It has many reserves of minerals, natural resources and gases, which are very important for any country to have economic growth and for the production or industrialization. These minerals, natural resources, gases plays a very important role. They are primary. They make it powerful country in the global world because of these huge stock of minerals, natural gases and resources. This makes this Russia a very powerful country in the global world. In addition, Russia is a nuclear state. We know this is a nuclear state also with huge stock of sophisticated weapons. It's had very we can say weapons of mass destruction, or we can say nuclear weapons. Russia is also a permanent, and this is the most important, Russia is also one of the most permanent member of UN Security Council. So it has a strong influence all over the world in if we talk about its power. So important thing is here, as we are reading about the new centers of power which can challenge the dominance of US in the world arena or the globally. We have read that BRICS as an organization. We have read about the European Union already. You have Chinese economy. We have read rise in the Chinese economy. Now we have read about Russia, and now we are reading about India. So it is a proud moment that we are reading India under this topic, which we can say is a new center of power. India is the emerging power. And it is multidimensional, not only in terms of military or not only in terms of economy. It is multidimensional, and India is having an influence all over the world now. So we shall be studying about India also in this particular topic, new centers of power. The 21st century, India is being seen as an important emerging global power in 21st century. India is a developing country, although it's a developing country, but its rate of growth is very high, and it is called a global power now. The world is experiencing the power and rise of India. As you know, in the news you have recently we have seen, we have bought 36 Rafales, out of which only 5 have come, and already we are influencing the world a lot. Like China, Pakistan, they have now started fearing India because of the incoming of the Rafale, these jets, fighter jets. So in this we can say how India in 21st century has started showing its importance and influencing the globally influencing countries around. The world is experiencing the power and rise of India. World can feel the power and rise of India in multi-dimensional ways. Okay, this is very important term. The world is experiencing. We are not saying that India is becoming powerful. It is people and the world around is feeling themselves that India has started to rise and has multi-dimensional way, like the economic, cultural, strategic position in the country with the population. Economically we are strong, culturally we are strong, strategic position is very good of India. Although with a very strong population, we can say more than 135 crores is very strong. Okay, so taking one by one these points. First is from an economic perspective. If we talk about only economy of India, targeting the goal of $5 trillion economy. This is the goal of India economic perspective. A competitive huge market. This is the second point. An ancient exclusive culture with 200 million people of India diaspora spreading. So many people of India who are very skilled. Around 200 million people are from out of India and spread across the globe, impart distinct meaning and silence to India as a new control of power of 21st. That is why we can say India is one of the now strongest growing power around the world. India's population is 135 crores, but all over the world, the people and the skilled people of India, you can find them everywhere globally. And here the next point, from the strategic perspective, the military of India is self-sufficient. Talking about the military of India, they are self-sufficient with indigenous nuclear. We also have nuclear technology, making it another nuclear power. As you know, India is also a nuclear power, which is also getting more stronger and stronger, and technologically also we are growing more modernized. Okay, so moving forward, so now under the topic, so this was also part of India, Make in India. As we know, this program was started in 2014 September. In under this scheme, there was a impact on companies and industries to produce their own products instead of relying on the foreign products. So Make in India scheme in technology and science is another milestone of Indian economy. To improve the economy strong, to make growth in the Indian economy, Make in India was a program started in 2004. All these changes are making India an important centers of power in the present world. Because of all these things which we are studying in India and the efforts India is trying to make to influence the world economically and militarily, and with the technology, with the trade, imports, exports, we are also now called as one of the important centers of power in the present world, that is 21st century. Now the next we are taking under this topic, that is new centers of power, is Israel. So first of all, I will show you where is Israel in this map. I hope you can see this map. This is India, as I told you, West Asia, which is also called, if we see it in the world map, we call it Middle East, and very close to African border, this part is called Israel. Okay, this is Israel here, you can see the arrow. Okay, this is West Asia, this is Israel here. So we shall be reading about Israel. So this is also one of the new centers of power which is influencing the world towards it. So what are the reasons? Let's see. Israel has emerged as one of the most powerful nations in the 21st century world in terms of science and technology. So if we say why we are calling Israel as one of the challenges to US or the new emerging power, because it is one of the strongest emerging power in terms of science and technology, defense, intelligence, besides economy. Not only they are growing economy, but they are also showing their intelligence. Situated in the middle of the burning politics of West Asia. So I have shown you the location of this Israel, which is very close to West Asia. West Asia, as you can see, there is a lot of imbalance because of the Arab Spring. There is a lot of demonstration going to bring democracy to their nation. So Israel has reached to the new heights of global political standing by virtue of its indomitable defense powers, because it has very strong defense power, technological innovations. They are showing the new discoveries and innovations every time. Lot of very strong industrialization and agricultural development. So these are the reasons for Israel to become one of the important we can say challenging power which can challenge US in future, or a strong power in US 21st century now, or we can say new center of power. Sustaining against adversity in the principle with which a small Jewish, this is a very small, we can say, Jewish Zionist nation in which Jews, Muslims, Christian, everyone is living, but strongly it is a Jewish nation. Israel is placed in the contemporary global politics in general, and Arab dominated West Asia politics in particular. So they are showing about the location. It is very close to the Arab dominated West Asia, where a lot of disturbance and imbalance is going on, but still it is still growing, Israel, in terms of technology, in terms of military, economy, intelligence, industrialization, agricultural development at every field. So these are the three important things I wanted to tell you about new centers of power. I hope you must have understood it. I shall be giving you certain questions regarding these topic also, and few of the important notes also. Till then, thank you.